When the HOA president, Karen, parked her brand new Tesla right across my barn gate for just a minute, she didn't expect that minute to cost her everything. I'd warned her for months to stay off my land, but when she blocked me in with my horses trapped, she learned what fire and fury really meant. My name's Luke Harrison, and for the past 12 years, my ranch has been my sanctuary. 50 acres of rolling pasture, a red-roofed barn, a few horses, and the kind of silence you only get miles from city noise. Unfortunately, the one sound that started ruining that peace came from a brand new development half a mile down the road, a homeowners association full of people who thought their rules extended to everyone within shouting distance. The HOA president, Karen Lowell, was the worst of them. She was the type who believed that authority was a God-given right, sunglasses always on, a clipboard glued to her hand, and a voice that could slice through steel. She'd already tried to tell me to trim unsightly wildflowers along my fence and move my livestock. Trailers, because they didn't fit the neighborhood. Aesthetic. I wasn't even part of their HOA. My land existed decades before her suburban kingdom was even zoned. Still, she kept pushing. The day it all began, I had a hay delivery scheduled. The semi-truck was on its way, and I'd been up since dawn clearing the barnyard, making room. Then I heard tires crunching on gravel. I looked up and saw a white Tesla Model X pulling right up to my gate, the gate that led to the barn's main drive. The driver's window rolled down, and sure enough, there she was, Karen, in all her pastel sweater glory. "Morning, Luke," she said, smiling like we were old friends. "I'm just going to leave my car here for a little bit. We're hosting the HOA board meeting down by the creek and parking's full." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "You're blocking my gate. I've got a delivery truck coming." "It'll just be a few minutes," she said, stepping out of the car. "You don't really use this driveway all that often, do you?" That was her way. She didn't ask permission. She announced decisions. "Karen," I said, keeping my voice level. "Move it. Now." She gave a little laugh like I was being unreasonable. "I'll be back before you know it." And with that, she locked the Tesla, slung her tote bag over her shoulder, and walked off down the trail. 10 minutes later, the semi arrived. And sure enough, couldn't get in. The driver leaned out his window, swearing. "You kidding me, man?" I could only shake my head. We had no way around. The fence ran tight on both sides. I called her cell, no answer. Then I called the HOA office, voicemail. By the time she came sauntering back, the delivery had been delayed an hour, and the driver was charging me for idle time. She grinned when she saw my face. "Oh, relax, Luke, it's just a car." That was the day I started keeping notes. Every HOA trespass, every threat, every nuisance. I had a feeling I'd need them someday. 2 weeks later, the summer heat hit hard. Dry grass, brittle shrubs, and the kind of static in the air that made you smell dust and ozone. The county fire department had been warning everyone to clear brush near structures. I'd already done it, but Karen? She'd been hosting nature walks for her HOA friends right past my fence line, where dry weeds brushed against exhaust pipes and cigarette ends flicked into ditches. That Friday, I came home from town to find her Tesla parked at my gate again. This time it wasn't for 10 minutes. It was 3 hours. I waited. I called. Nothing. Then I noticed something worse. The pasture gate behind the barn had been left open. My gelding, Jasper, was nowhere to be seen. The HOA had apparently taken one of their scenic shortcut walks straight through my property. That was it. By the time Karen came strolling back, chattering into her Bluetooth headset, I was done being polite. "Move. Your car," she frowned, lowering her sunglasses. "Luke, you really need to calm down. We're just trying to make the area more accessible. Besides, your property borders community land." "It's private land," I snapped. "And your car's trespassing again." "Call the sheriff then," she said with a shrug. "He'll tell you the same thing. You don't own the road. It's easement property. She was wrong. I did own it. I had the survey maps to prove it, but fine. If she wanted a lesson, she'd get one she'd never forget." The next morning, I called my buddy Earl, a retired firefighter who still helped manage controlled burns for brush clearance. I explained the situation. He laughed so hard I thought he'd choke. "You want to run a controlled burnout by your gate, huh? You got the permit?" "Yep," I said. "Got it approved last month. Then light her up." We set the burn for Saturday afternoon. just before the next HOA nature event. I left the Tesla-sized space at the gate clear for bait. Sure enough, around 1 p.m., she came cruising up, same routine, pulled her white Tesla across the gate, popped out in yoga pants and a pastel scarf, and headed off down the trail with her clipboard. The second she disappeared into the trees, I got to work. Earl and I cleared a safety radius, wet the surrounding grass, and set a controlled brush fire along the fence line opposite her car. It was small, deliberate, and completely legal. Smoke rose fast and the wind shifted. Exactly as predicted, carrying the heat and sparks toward the gravel edge near her car. Then the fire hit a patch of dry grass that she and her group had trampled on their last walk. The flames jumped. We rushed to contain it, but the heat gusted straight toward her Tesla. Within 30 seconds, the air shimmered. The paint blistered. Then, whoosh! The front bumper ignited like tissue paper. By the time the fire crew arrived, the blaze was out, and her gleaming electric chariot was a melted, smoking ruin. She came running up the road screaming, "You maniac! You did this on purpose." I just pointed to the permit posted on the fence. "Controlled burn, Karen. You parked in an active fire zone." "Not my fault." The sheriff took statements, confirmed the burn permit, and even commended me for following proper safety protocol. Karen was livid, shouting about insurance, lawsuits, environmental destruction, but the sheriff only shrugged. "Ma'am," he followed the law. "You parked on private property in violation of posted warnings. You're lucky it wasn't worse." You'd think she'd have learned her lesson, but Karen wasn't built for humility. She was built for vengeance. A week later, I received a letter from the HOA claiming reckless endangerment and arson. They demanded payment for damages to community assets, meaning her Tesla. That's when I called my lawyer, Megan Stone, a no-nonsense woman who'd handled every land dispute in 3 counties. She read the letter, smirked, and said, "Luke, this is about to get fun." Within a month, Megan had filed a counterclaim, not just for harassment and trespassing, but for defamation, property interference, and business loss since my hay supplier dropped me for the delay she'd caused. She compiled every incident I documented, photos, timestamps, voicemails, even her own posts bragging about teaching the local ranchers some respect. When the case went to county court, Karen strutted in like she owned the place, pearls, designer heels, the works. Her lawyer tried to paint me as a volatile old man with a history of aggression. Then Megan dropped the hammer. The photos, the permit, and the sheriff's report clearing me completely. But the knockout punch came when she presented drone footage taken by the county's own environmental office showing Karen's Tesla parked directly in the fire zone. Beneath a controlled burn in progress sign, the judge didn't even hesitate. "Case dismissed," he said. "And as for the counterclaim," he turned to Karen's lawyer, "you'll be hearing from Mr. Harrison's attorney." Karen's face went pale. 3 months later, the HOA quietly settled. The payout covered the hay losses, legal fees, and a new irrigation system. I even bought a new truck, with a vanity plate that read, "No HOA." The best part? The HOA replaced Karen as president. Rumor has it, her Tesla insurance dropped her too. Now, when I look out toward my barn gate, I still see the faint black scorch marks on the gravel. To most, they're just burn scars. To me, they're reminders and that sometimes justice doesn't roar. It burns slow and steady, until it's hot enough to toast a Tesla.